Portal Knights is a building and adventuring game about exploring floating islands of various different biome types to gather resources and fight monsters. Each island is connected to one another via portals that you have to find. Sometimes portals are fairly easy to find, and other times they're buried deep within underground dungeons. You generally won't be staying on any one island for very long unless you decide to create a base on that island. This game is mostly about exploring new lands, which you can use to find new monsters and resources, which you can use to then upgrade your spells, your clothing, your armor, and your weapons. Portal Knights is very much focused on different tiers. You upgrade from 1 tier to 2 tier to 3 tier to 4 tier and so forth. And each island usually has a specific type of resource it has, meaning that you might have to go to certain islands to get certain types of resources and spend more time there. And this is also dependent on your class in large part, because certain classes will require different types of crafting workbenches to create different things. The building aspect of Portal Knights is tied a lot to the adventuring. As you explore new islands, you'll unlock new types of furniture and blocks by upgrading your crafting stations and gaining access to new resources. And there's a lot of different types of blocks and furniture, so you can really create whatever you want. And since you can move your home base to other islands and just take them over, it also adds a lot to where you want to build and how you want to build it. Now, while I really like all the options they give you in building, it's very frustrating trying to place blocks. There is not a way that I at least have found to place multiple blocks at once when you're trying to lay down a building, meaning you have to do one at a time, which is really frustrating. And it's not very clear oftentimes where your blocks will go that you place. Sometimes I found myself trying to build a bridge only for the blocks to plant underneath me and move my bridge up in the air rather than moving them forward. It's just not very clear or intuitive at all. Now, combat is easily the worst part of Portal Knights. It's not very challenging, it's not very detailed. You basically just spam your basic attack and maybe mix in a couple abilities that you really don't even need. There's barely a use to use the dodging. It's just boring. Now, there is some bosses that you'll run into, and they have a little bit more challenge to them and actually do require some dodging, but even they are just pushovers. And there's only 3 bosses in the game, which is a huge disappointment. And I have to say the enemy variety could be a little bit better. I found it really disappointing as I leveled up and found the same monsters again and again and again at times. Now, you've got 3 different classes you can play from in Portal Knights. You've got the Warrior, which attacks melee style, the Ranger with bows, the Wizard for staffs and wands. The range classes are definitely a lot better, so the balance really isn't the greatest. And one of the most frustrating parts of the combat is the camera. Every time you attack an enemy, your camera instantly locks onto the enemy, which can create some super frustrating situations as your camera gets stuck behind things or moves awkwardly, especially in underground dungeons where the space is very cramped. Now, progression in the game is mostly handled through leveling up with XP. Every 5 levels you gain a talent slot, which can be used to get certain bonuses like faster mana regeneration, more damage, and so forth. You can also use magical spells like fireballs, healing spells, and damage reduction spells. Enemies also seem to have a weird habit of bugging out and not moving at all and getting stuck. Progression is another area where Portal Knights suffers a lot. You'll blaze through content faster than you can upgrade gear, which will force you into some awkward situations as both your level and your gear does not match the content you're facing, which may force you to go back to previous islands to try and grind them out a little bit. Graphically, Portal Knights looks great. There's a real pop and character to the world that just makes it feel like a magical, almost Pixar-like game. The characters look great, the monsters look great, the buildings look great, the blocks look great. Everything just looks great. And music is another area that Portal Knights really shoots it out of the park. The soundtrack is incredibly memorable and sounds like something you could hear in a Disney or Pixar movie. It's great. Portal Knights also has multiplayer for up to 4 players, which means that you can have a lot of fun with a couple friends, and I'd say that this is definitely the best way to play the game. I had a lot more fun playing co-op with a friend than playing solo. Though it does have a couple of irritating things to it. First off, you can't be on different islands at the same time. So I can't be out gathering resources on one planet while my friend is out at the home base building things, which can lead to some really frustrating situations as your friend is maybe upgrading crafting stations and you have nothing to do but just sit around and wait. Now, overall, is Portal Knights a fun game? Yes, and I would recommend it if you're looking for a relaxing game with decent graphics that feels kind of Pixar-like with amazing music. And if you're going to play it co-op, you're going to enjoy it way more than playing it solo. I would not recommend this game playing solo anywhere near as much as I would playing co-op. But it's also a very flawed game with a lack of challenge or depth to the combat, the repetitive nature of it. And as a result, I have to give the game a 7 out of 10. It's a fun game, especially in co-op, but it's just not amazing. It's not beyond average. It's just an average game.